Hey guys, and thanks for tuning in. My name is SPYN, and today we will continue with the substitution system and what suggestions I have for it. In this suggestion video, we will have a look into my suggestions for incorporating chakra-based substitutions again. But before we get to the suggestions for this video, I need to explain you something first regarding the content of this video and this topic in general. You see, people are not quite familiar with the fact that the substitution system consists of two basic elements. The first element is the substitution source, which defines from what your substitutions come from and how much you can use them. The second element is the substitution conditions, which define when, where and how easy you are allowed to use the substitution technique. Therefore, it is very important to remember that the substitution bar does not define the substitution system entirely, because it only serves as a substitution limitation system. The same goes for the chakra substitution system in Storm 1 and 2, because the chakra bar only serves as a substitution limitation system as well. So, as you may realize, the substitution bar and the chakra bar are basically on the same terms. The only difference between them is the fact that the chakra bar handles other chakra actions too. Now, I need you to understand that the reason why people see the chakra bar and the substitution bar as being two opposites is caused by the fact that they don't have the same conditions for when, where and how easily you're allowed to perform the substitution technique. You may recall that in Storm 1 and 2 you basically risked of getting hit with jutsus, ultimates and team ultimates when your opponent substituted your combos, which basically left you wide open because the games didn't allow you to substitute in that given situation. Unfortunately, this is what some people associate the chakra substitution with, which we know by now is wrong to do. Opposed to Storm Generations and Storm 3, this particular situation was fixed due to the fact that CyberConnect 2 modified the substitution conditions from Storm 1 and 2, enabling the substitution technique to be performed whenever you desire to. Sadly, many people associate this fix with the incorporation of the substitution bar, meaning that people think that the substitution bar fixed the issues and not the modified conditions in the first place. This is the exact reason as to why people have a tendency to differentiate these two bars as being exact opposites, and that the substitution bar fixed everything, which we now know isn't true at all. So let me make a quick summarization. The conditions for when, where and how easy we are allowed to substitute do not depend on the substitution bar nor on the chakra bar. Therefore, it does not matter if we have the substitution bar or chakra-based substitutions. What matters, however, is how the substitution system's conditions are programmed. So please remember this when I'm suggesting things about chakra-based substitutions in this particular video. Alright, now that I have said all of this, let's get things started. Suggestion number 4. Let's incorporate chakra-based substitution again, but with some new adjustments. The first adjustment to make would be to modify which situations players should be able to substitute. Just as stated previously, it's very important to look at when, where and how easy players should be allowed to substitute when incorporating the chakra substitution. For instance, we could keep the substitution conditions from Storm 3, where you're basically allowed to substitute whenever you want to. Although, if anything turns out to be unfortunate and unbalanced, this should of course be fixed in such way that no feature become exploitable. Let's move on to suggestion number 5. This suggestion also concerns the possibility of incorporating chakra substitution. However, as an adjustment, this suggestion suggests that the more you substitute, the bigger the chakra cost. For instance, if players choose to substitute within 3 to 4 seconds of each used substitution, the chakra cost will increase exponentially for each time. If players wait to substitute after this time is over, their chakra cost will be normal again. Here's an example of the chakra cost for those players who keep substituting with less than a 3 to 4 seconds interval. In this case, the normal chakra substitution costs 10% chakra. Now, if a given player chooses to substitute before 3 to 4 seconds after having used a substitution, the second substitution will then cost 15% chakra. If the player continues to substitute quickly, the third substitution then costs 20% chakra. The maximum cost of chakra substitution is 20% in this case, and this will keep up if the player keeps choosing to substitute before every 3 to 4 seconds. If he stops and waits till after 3 to 4 seconds, the chakra cost will then drop down to 10% again. This will make sure that the rapid substitution issue as seen in Storm 2 won't occur again, because it comes with a risk. When having the chakra substitution besides all the other chakra based actions, it will require the players to think much more rationally at what they can do and what they must do in order to complete their fighting strategies. If one overuses the chakra, then one will of course get punished much easier. Alright, suggestion number 6. This suggestion can be applied to both the substitution bar and chakra substitution. Let's make the substitution technique harder to be performed during combos. This will give players a better chance of performing full combos despite if their opponents have the option to substitute. This will also give more depth to the gameplay experience. As a result, when adding such feature, recharging subs and chakra subs won't become a problem because players will still be able to perform full combos if done correctly. As inspiration, we could look at the combo substitution system in Storm 1 and 2, where players could perform full combos by pressing the attack button slowly and out of sync. Now, this is a subject not many are aware of. Despite the fact that this may be unintended, the combo substitution worked in an interesting way. Let's have a look on an example. Let's say that a player is attacking his opponent with a combo. Now, in Storm 2, whenever you pressed your attack button, it would create a so-called tick. The same goes for when you pressed your guard button to trigger the substitution technique. If you were unable to synchronize your substitution ticks with the opponent's attacking ticks, you would basically not be able to substitute. At least, this is what I experienced when I played Storm 2, and I managed to practice doing combos by pressing the attack button slowly and sometimes randomly. This made it really difficult for my opponents to substitute from when I performed combos on them. I then experimented with some other friends of mine back then. What I basically could conclude after they did the same thing as I did was that even I had difficulties substituting combos when my opponents pressed the attack button slowly, and I was extremely good at doing the substitution technique quickly. Anyway, I also learned that this particular combo technique wasn't 100% consistent, and that you sometimes wouldn't succeed doing it. The thing about it, too, is that people never really got to learn this because that whenever the average player would try to combo, the first hit of the combo would be easily substituted. The difference between that and what I did was that I created fake attacks to create an opening which made the following combo very hard to substitute. What I basically did was trying to do air combos, and whenever my opponent then tried to counterattack, I would then be able to substitute and counterattack with regular combos. Of course, what's important to use as inspiration is only the combo substitution part, where making combos harder to substitute in this way is much more appropriate. Alright, that concludes the second part of my suggestions for the substitution system. Please share your thoughts and opinions on this subject and tell me what you think about it, or if you could see things happening in other and perhaps more interesting ways. Remember, I'm considering all suggestions that you write to me for my Storm 4 Suggestions magazine project, so please keep the ideas coming. Anyways, please give this a thumbs up if you like this video and subscribe to stay tuned for my upcoming videos. My name is SPYN, and as always, thanks for watching.
Thank you.